So if I have that 5 trade losing streak, that 7 trade losing streak, that 10 trade losing streak, whatever it is, things like that, I understand that over time, I have something to go back to. And that's just the importance of having a trading plan. Things are going to be okay.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our YouTube channel. In today's interview, we're going to be taking a look at Darren McCready. He's one of our funded traders and he had many payouts before. Without further ado, please introduce yourself.
Hey, what's up, YouTube, the funded trader? My name is Darren McCready. I go by the name Creddy Trades in Discord. I'm 36 and I'm from Maryland.
Yeah, super honored to meet you. You know, we've been talking in the Discord for a little bit, but how long have you actually been trading for?
Yeah, I've been trading Forex a little over 2 years, about 2 years, 4 months.
And at which point do you think that you maybe saw a change in your trading to where you told yourself, okay, I can maybe do something with this, or I finally feel like I'm making some profits?
When we got to last summer, so maybe about a year and a half in, I got my first payout, and that was when I realized, like, okay, like this is real. And it kind of shifted my mindset as far as how I wanted to approach things. And then I really got to the point where I started becoming profitable in November of 2022. And then I pretty much wiped out all my previous losses the end of December going into this year. So 2023 is pretty much like clean state starting from here to see where we can get to.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beautiful thing with trading. You know, as many losses as you can take over time, you know, as you're learning, there's going to be losses. At the end of the day, you know, it's a learning curve. It's a very steep learning curve. But if you keep progressing and just keep going at it, eventually, once you hit those payouts, they can cover all of your losses in an instant. So props to you for getting to that level. And I wanted to ask if you would be willing maybe to go over some of your most recent trades.
Yeah, I got a couple I can show you. Okay, so basically with my strategy, it's probably a mixed match of everything I've learned over the year and a half, 2 years to begin with, and then I've just been kind of honing in on some best trade setups recently. So here we had Monday opening up where this vertical line is, and generally I mark my charts the high of the day and the low of the previous day, and I'm just watching the range to see where things are. So for this day here, I pulled my fibs because that's the main tool I use just to measure retracements and whatnot. So I'd gone from the high down to the low. Let me turn my magnet tool off, just messing that up here. So I'd gone from the high of Asian session, or the high of the day at that point, which was here. Price had worked its way down overnight. It's just a nice slow creeping trend. Between London and New York, it kind of reversed and started working its way up. So basically, when I woke up New York session around 8 a.m., I marked my chart, I pulled my fibs, I was like, okay, if I get a retracement, sort of like a little mini pump and dump scenario, the price pulls up into here or here, these are going to be the areas where I want to enter. In New York Open, price pressed up really hard. I ended up entering at 51 and 53, so 12,053 and 51, which is right in this candle here. I ended up taking it short down 100 points. Where's my short tool? And it was really just a nice clean 1 to 2.5 risk. I took it down to the negative 27, which is here. My stop was above the high up here. And it was just pretty much if it popped the top and continued up, I was just out. I mean, it wasn't that big of a deal, but if it continued down, I was good. And it actually got there in 3 candles. And I was done for the day on that one. And then also on UCAD, I had a trade last week. I was actually on a live call with Forex League in the morning. I think it was last Wednesday. We had news coming in at 10 a.m. And I was looking at this level here. I had a buy limit order in pretty much at the low. So it's the low of the previous day in here.
Okay.
So it's 10,000. I'm sorry, it was 133 even. And I wasn't looking for a lot, but I just suspected their price came down to that 00 area. As news was hitting at 10 a.m., I might get picked up at the 00s, and then I rode it back up into this area up in here. So it wasn't a huge move.
Yeah, it's about 40 pips-ish.
Yeah, 40, 50 pips is all I usually look for. I risk 25 for 50 on the Forex pairs. And then on the indexes like NASDAQ and US 30, I'll risk 50 for 100. Just 1 to 2. If it gives me more, great. If I only get half of it, I take it most of the time. When I'm on my good behavior anyway. But, if it gives it to me quick, I just take it. I don't try and stretch it out to 2, 3, 4R. If I get it within a couple candles, I just take it and look for something else.
So what would you say maybe your win rate is using this strategy?
My win rate's usually between 50 and 60. It's not huge. It's not like a 70 or 80, but it's not like a 20 or 30 either. I know a lot of the guys are shooting for the higher risk to reward. They have a little bit lower win rate, but they're taking the bigger wins. I'm just trying to chop off consistent pieces, a good 1 to 2, or
Yeah, I mean,
sometimes I'll get a 3 if it moves quick enough. But the way I try to trade, a lot of times, like with moves, I'm just looking for legs of a move. Like I'm not trying to catch this whole thing. So like another trade I caught was a long out of this area here. And literally what I'm doing is when I come to the chart, I'm looking to see where price went the previous day. And I'm looking from the high to the low or the low to the high. And when I get a retracement like this, 61, I got in on this one, not over here because that wasn't my time, but New York session I gotten in long in here and got chopped up a bit. And then eventually it took off. I got a negative 27 and it just kept going. So eventually during Asian session, the next day I ended up taking the breakout here about 9:15, 9:30, and I took this breakout up for about 2 hours. So I caught another like 30, 40 pips in here. So I mean, it's just seeing where it's going, where it's been. Does it look good for a 1 to 2 minimum? And then I just put it on. I mean, I'm trying not to complicate it too much.
yeah. So the day to day for you is, I mean, as far as I can tell, everything is pretty cut and clear. You're looking at the major structures. You're following the
Hmm.
most important principles. So definitely, I can
Yeah.
see how you made it to this point, and the fact that you're in this interview shows that you're a very competent trader with many different payouts, and just the fact that your trades are so clean. You're following such a good risk to reward system, because as far as your psychology goes, some people can handle a low win rate to get those bigger R's, but then other people, they need that kind of consistent win. Like they need that consistent, like 50, 60% win, because just too many losses in a row that can play a big part in a person's psychology. And then mistakes start happening. So props to you for.
Yeah, it's really a part of knowing yourself and just understanding what you can handle, testing the limits of your resiliency and just saying, okay, I can handle losing this much because I know it's gonna come back as long as, I execute my strategy and I have confidence in the system.
So as far as your trading career, maybe what are some goals that you have set out for yourself in the year of 2023?
All right, so this year I'm looking to achieve pretty much as much prop firm funding as possible. So I'm already funded with TFT, obviously. I've got 5 accounts here right now, ranging from 10K to 200K. I'm sorry, from 10K to 100K. I'm working on a 200K challenge here right now, and I'm trying to get to at least 3 prop firms at least half the max allocation. So like here, the most you can do is 600K. I'm already halfway here. I have 2 days left on a FTMO challenge that I already hit the target on a 200K there, so I'll be halfway on theirs. And then from there, I'll probably just come back to TFT, get some more FTMO, and then figure out what other firms I want to work with.
Yeah,
But
so
it's really just trying to get as much funding as possible, and just have accounts on deck. That way, if I have a bad day, a bad week, it's not the end of the world, and it's not back to square one.
yeah, with the different accounts, maybe do you have a plan to maybe have one be more risky and one be more conservative, or do you just trade all across the board the same way?
So right now I'm trading the same across them, and I've been rotating. So whichever one has the lowest balance is the one I focus on. That way, generally, I can protect my biggest profits. I had a little snafu yesterday where I got on the wrong account and ended up doing some damage, but it wasn't anything where anything was breached. Just something that can be recovered. But generally, I try to trade whatever account is the lowest balance. I'm a session trader. A lot of people call me a scalper, but I don't think I am. But really, I'm just trading Asia and New York. Sometimes I'll wake up in London, and if I see a setup, I'll take it. But everything has to line up. Like I'm not forced anything in London, but if I wake up in London, I see something, I'll take it. But really, I'm just trading the first 3 hours of each session and then the afternoon in New York after lunchtime.
What is something that, as far as your psychology goes, maybe when you hit a slump or you've taken a streak of losses, what's something that you do personally to maybe recover your psychology or your mentality?
So one of the biggest things I do, I'm really big on like just looking back at milestones and whatnot and just saying how far I've come and the things that I've overcome along the way. So I've got all my certificates from last year printed out and I've got them in a binder as well as my rules and stuff like that. I've got a checklist for my rules. Like yesterday I had a rough day. And it seems like from my tracking of data, like Tuesday seems to be a tough day for me mentally, because I tend to break more rules on Tuesday. I have no specific reason for that. I haven't figured out yet. But just going back and looking at the data and just saying, okay, when I'm executing properly, when I'm entering trades when I'm supposed to. I'm not making up positions that, I shouldn't be in. I'm observing my lot size rules, things like that. I understand that over time, things are going to be okay. So if I have that 5 trade losing streak, that 7 trade losing streak, that 10 trade losing streak, whatever it is, I have something to go back to. And that's just the importance of having a trading plan and having records that you can kind of look into. The other thing that helped me build the confidence too is last summer, I realized that we could export data out of MT5. So I started exporting my data and I went in and I started looking at them like piece by piece and saying, okay, when I have a losing streak of 7 trades, it's costing me this much capital out of my account. And then when I started doing that, I started realizing that I behave differently when I'm in drawdown than when I'm in profit. I take different types of trades. I use different risk parameters, and it's, stuff like that you got to be able to identify and then come back and say, okay, when I'm doing A, B, and C, everything's fine. But when I get in drawdown, I might start over risking, or when I get deep in profit, I'm a little more careless in my execution and behavior. So, just noticing your tendencies and behaviors is really important.
Yeah. And so those days on Tuesday specifically, you said you don't know what the problem is. Well, maybe have you thought of cutting your risk in half, for example, and just testing out that theory?
Yeah, so I had an idea that I was going to start on Tuesday when I first come out. My first trades were going to be half risk just to see what was happening. And I tried it yesterday. It didn't work. So I'm probably going to try something else.
Wait, it didn't
But
work
that's the
because
beauty of.
you took a loss, or the fact that,
So yesterday specifically, it was different because I had taken those trades on Monday night and I made profit on them, which was great, but I cut them a little bit too soon. So when I came back to the market Tuesday morning this time, I was a little more anxious to get into something because I had gotten out of something I should have stayed in. And that's something else you got to pay attention
yeah,
to, is
that
like how
always
you behave after
happens.
wins, after losses, those types of things. So that's what it was yesterday. On the previous ones, I'd have to go back and see, more detail, but I know very vividly from this one, it was yesterday. That's what happened. And I've documented it. So when it happens again, I can come back and actually see it. Because you got to be careful with what you're doing, because a lot of things that I was doing that were detrimental to my progress and my profiting, I was doing them over and over and over again. But when you start writing down, what's causing your problems or your losses in trading, you'll notice pretty quickly that a lot of times it's the same stuff. And if you're the type of person who, you can hold yourself accountable and you're responsible for your actions, you'll get tired of writing down the same thing. One of the things that was causing me problems in the beginning was over leveraging after a win. So I'd win and I was like, okay, well, instead of just risking the same amount, I'm going to risk everything that I had. And if I win, I'm up double. If I'm not, I'm back to break even. And I realized that that's not a good, strategy per se in the long term. Like maybe if you're aggressive trying to pass a challenge, yes. But once you get funded and you're trading live capital consistently, you want to approach it a little bit differently.
Yeah, hitting those profits after a win, and then you're like, okay, I'm about to risk it all. I'm about to risk all these profits. If I lose, it's okay. But that's what you tell yourself. When you end up losing your profits, you feel even worse than if you would just have lost a normal amount. So you're like, man, I lost all these profits. And that's how you sort of start spiraling out of control. If you lose all your profits and you go negative, you make these rash decisions. And as traders, we're fighting against ourselves. All the emotions that we have, they make or they break us. So if we're taking trades based on emotions that are overtaking us at the moment, and like you said, writing these triggers down, writing these emotions down, your behaviors, these things will help us become better traders in this year and, hopefully achieve all of the goals we have set out for ourselves.
Absolutely.
What is something that you might have told yourself if you could speak to your, former self, or when you were first starting out trading?
That's a tough one. But I'd say the biggest thing is, and this is probably for me specifically, but I'm sure it affects other people too. When you first start trading and you're searching and seeking and finding information, you really got to allow yourself the opportunity to be a beginner at the beginning. So often you see people that are starting and yeah, like everybody wants to be an expert as soon as they start, and they think this is a holy grail. This is going to work. You can't lose. Your strategy is better than other people's strategy. You can't learn from other people. Like you have to be really open to what's going on, because there's no right or wrong way to trade. Essentially, it's just, are you making money or not? So it got to a point for me where I realized like, okay, like I need to take it back a couple steps and just really listen and watch and see what other people are doing. And if I like it, take it. And if I don't, if it's working for them, it's working for them. But I got to figure out what works for me. And there's a lot of self-discovery along the journey, just understanding, okay, this person uses trend lines, but it doesn't work for me. But well, I like fibs, but they can't stand fibs. And all that's fine. I personally don't use any indicators. I mean, there's other people whose charts are littered with indicators. I mean, if it works for them, great. But for me, you got to stay true to yourself and try to, just slowly adapt to what you're doing. And if you add something, don't add it at a time that's critical. Add it when you're back testing. Don't add it when you're starting a new challenge or you just got a new account or something. Like test things out before you go all in with them per se.
Yeah, that's amazing advice. And I truly, if you're just a beginner starting out in this Forex game, listen to Darren over here. He's experienced and he knows what he's talking about. We're not all experts in this field. I mean, obviously, there's so much better traders that we've never even heard of. There's people making 7 figures per trade. Everyone is starting out somewhere. So wherever you are in your journey, there's always another trade. Just take it at your own pace, learn what you can, and just keep on growing and evolving in your trading game. Take away things that maybe are detrimental to your trading and add some new tips and tricks that you might learn from a Darren or another trader in our community. With your goals in mind, is there maybe something that you are looking forward to doing, like maybe with the profits, like helping others, or like, do you have any of those philosophical ideals?
Yeah, I mean, from that perspective, I'm really just trying to get to the point where I can help others. We all got things we need to take care of for ourselves first and for our families immediately. I got a wife and a son, and I'd like for them to be able to do, anything they want. So if we want to go on a trip, we go on a trip. If I want to send my son to private school, send him to private school. Those types of things. And then beyond that, like once home is taken care of, just trying to help people, not necessarily set people up for life, but put people in a position where they can be successful. If somebody needs help, getting into school, maybe even doing sponsorships for like local events and just doing stuff for the community, just all those types of things. And there's not really anything specific that I have in mind, but, as the journey progresses, things will come to me and I'll figure out exactly, what direction I want to go. I was thinking eventually at some point, even starting something locally where, like high school age kids, almost like a summer camp type of deal, can learn the basics of the market and actually get into trading at an earlier age. Because I feel like if people like myself and my wife and other people had an opportunity to learn what I've learned in the last 2 years, 12 years ago, or much earlier on in life, we'd be in much better set off now to help others and to keep, things going within our families and the community.
Yeah, those are some amazing goals. And, this interview has been something special. Your outlook on the market itself in this year, what do you think about like where the dollar is going? And maybe are you planning any of your trades like in the future, like on the weekends? Do you maybe plan out your trades for the week, or do you just go day by day and what the market structure is looking like?
I have a routine for the weekend as far as like what I'm expecting or what I'm expecting to do if it does a certain thing. I don't really mark off levels like, hey, if it gets here, I'm buying. If it goes beyond this, I'm selling or whatever. I just really take it day by day for the most part. Like I'll mark off the previous week's high and low as my boundaries, and I just work within that. And then as the days print the price action, I just work from the highs and lows of the day, the session, and whatnot, and just try and catch stuff from top to bottom. And if it breaks out, see if I can follow it.
And maybe what are some of your favorite pairs to trade?
So I trade NASDAQ mostly. And then as far as currency pairs, I trade US dollar, Canadian dollar, so the loonie. And then I trade the Australian dollar versus the US dollar, the Aussie. I watch DXY, so the US dollar index. I watch and mark that off daily, as well as I'm watching mark off gold daily. And I've just started trading oil recently because I can trade them with FTMO. So I'm looking at West Texas oil as well.
With that being said, truly, it's been an honor in this interview. I'm super pleased with all the information. There's a lot of advice here for all the different traders who might be watching this at any level that you're at. There's always a little golden nugget here or there that can help you along your journey. So Thank you for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the notifications. Peace.